It's become toxic. The very same tools that changed the world are now being used to tear us apart. And the problem doesn't stop there. In order to protect us, governments, consciously or unconsciously, restrict freedom of expression and resort to censorship, even shutting down the internet and putting journalists in jail for posting on social media. Meanwhile, digital platforms and tech companies stand by as harm is done. Things have to change. We need to allow people to participate in the conversation. We need reliable information, empowered citizens, and content which reflects a diversity of voices. So how can we fix this? We all share the responsibility. This is why UNESCO has kicked off a global conversation. We held consultations around the world, and thousands gave us their feedback. Our goal? Fostering peace and dialogue in the digital sphere, fighting disinformation and hate speech, and protecting everyone's right to express themselves freely and access reliable information. UNESCO has produced a set of guidelines for the governance of digital platforms. These can help governments protect freedom of expression and journalists without using the wrong kind of restrictions. They're a tool for companies to manage risks and become more transparent, and for civil society and the media to act as a watchdog when human rights are violated. We have the tools. Now it's time to act. Let's build an internet for trust.
By understanding and addressing the challenges of disinformation and misinformation, businesses can protect their brand integrity, maintain consumer trust, and foster a more reliable social media ecosystem.
That's what's happening in the digital marketing space. All you have to do is let your phone be your assistant money maker, taking online business marketing to a whole other new level. That's it from us. This has been Take on Tech. My name is Stephanie Ayeta. Do talk to us on our socials at KBC Channel 1 using the hashtag Take on Tech. I'll see you next time, same place. Until then, keep it tech.
Unajua, token mita yako inahitaji system update. Ni rahisi na ni free. Ukipata ujumbe kutoka Kenya Power, yani SMS, weka kodi ya kwanza kureset, alafu weke kodi ya pili kuupdate ili token mita yako iendelee kufanya kazi kama kawaida. Update token mita yako. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Kenya Power and Lighting Company.
Good evening. It is the 7th of July 2024 and this is Easy Friday. So it appears that government will be borrowing 887 billion shillings to finance its projects up until June 2024. And the wise saying goes, every action has a reaction. President William Ruto saying that it is a result of the vacation of the proposed and that is the Finance Bill of 2024-2025. But further details are following tonight on Easy Friday.
I have today appointed an independent task force to carry out a comprehensive forensic audit of our public debt and report to us in the next 3 months.
President Ruto appoints an 8-member public debt audit task force, announcing a raft of austerity measures to reduce the national budget deficit. Thousands attend the funeral of Rex Kanyike Masai, who was shot dead during the anti-finance bill protest. And Generation Z shoots hard questions to the head of state during a rare conversation on the X platform. Good evening once again. I'm Regina Manyara and my colleague on sign language is none other than Susan Thuku. Now, President William Ruto has pledged to have rogue police officers caught on camera shooting into crowds during the anti-finance bill protest face the law. Speaking during an X-Space conversation with the youth, the head of state cautioned against fake news, disputing reports of a 12-year-old boy who died after he was shot 8 times in Ongatarungai. Our reporter Abdiaziz Hashim has the details of his conversation with the youth, where they conversed, among others, police brutality, unlawful arrests, reorganization of government, and constitution of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission.
In the first of its kind online conversation, President William Ruto engaged the youth on X platform to address their concerns following 2 weeks of protests triggered by contents of the Finance Bill 2024.
I agree that some of our officials are arrogant. Some of them, speak out of turn, and then some of them display, obnoxious opulence, if I may say that. Which does not just anger the public. Sometimes I call in some of those people and I give them a piece of my mind.
It is here that the conversation was dominated by calls for justice for dozens killed by police in the anti-finance bill protest, including 12-year-old Kennedy Onyango, who was shot in Rongai.
A criminal assaulted the police, took over the firearm of the police, and shot. And unfortunately, that bullet went and killed a young Kenyan. And unfortunately, again, and we have to be honest with one another, it was said that this young Kenyan was pumped with 8 bullets. That is also not true. Because, the one that was being said of 8 bullets did not exist. In fact, we have now found out that the one of 8 bullets happened several years ago, somewhere in Buruburu, and it was in a completely different scenario.
The president also dismissed reports of the Githurai massacre as false.
Are you saying 200 people were killed in Githurai? Really? My friend, where are can the family step forward? People who are saying our members of our family are missing. They went to Mandamano or they went to picket and they did not come back. 200 people is not a joke, my friend.
Ruto, while apologizing to those mistreated during the arrest and while in custody, pledged to have police officers who violated the law while handling protesters will be brought to book.
On the matter of this rogue police officer that you say is roaming, that is something that I would want to get exact details of who this is, picture and photos to me, to Hussein, my spokesman here, and also I would appreciate if you can send it to also my inbox if you can, or if you can send it to the Independent Police Oversight Authority. We will deal with it.
Additionally, he said plans are underway to reorganize his administration to ensure effective service delivery, ruling out proposals to dissolve the cabinet.
And I have promised that I will be making changes. I know you have said that I should not make changes. I should clean the slate clean. But you see, you don't have the job I have. And there are many things that I have to do to be able to get things done. And it's quite something. But I have had you, and I have had the many Kenyans who have talked on this platform.
At the same time, he announced the appointment of chief administrative secretaries had been put on hold, and he will halve the number of his advisors.
When the minister is when there is evidence gathered enough for the minister to be held to account, I want to promise you that I will fire him, and any other minister for that matter, if there is sufficient evidence to hold anybody accountable.
President William Ruto says that the changes are in a bid to improve service delivery to Kenyans. Abdiaziz Hashim from State House, Nairobi for Easy Friday.
President William Ruto has appointed an independent task force to carry out a public debt audit that currently stands at 10.4 trillion shillings. The 8-member task force, which will be chaired by Nancy Onyango, has 3 months to carry out the audit and provide clarity on the extent and nature of the debt. The team will also bring to fore how public resources have been spent and recommend proposals for managing the public debt in a sustainable manner. Ruto said the consequence of withdrawing the Finance Bill 2024 will lead to the reduction of the revenue target by 346 billion shillings.
The consequence of withdrawing the Finance Bill is the reduction of our revenue targets by 346 billion.
The withdrawing of the Finance Bill 2024 has now put the government on the crossroads on how to finance its expenditure and at the same time service its huge public debt that currently amounts to trillions of shillings. Subsequently, President William Ruto has gazetted an independent task force to carry out forensic audit on Kenya's public debt.
This audit will provide the people of Kenya with clarity on the extent and nature of our debt, how public resources have been expended, and will also recommend proposals for managing our public debt in a manner that is sustainable and does not burden future generations.
Nancy Onyango has been appointed the chairperson of the task force. She will be deputized by Luz Frankesi. Ruto at the same time appointed the Law Society of Kenya President Faith Odhiambo, Institute of Certified Public Accounts Chairperson Philip Kaikai, Institute of Engineers of Kenya President Shama Kiteme, and Vincent Kimosop as members of the task force. Abraham Rugo and Aaron Degea have been appointed as joint secretaries. The task force will serve for 3 months effective July 5th, 2024. The task force is mandated to verify the current stock of public and publicly guaranteed debt, reconcile the proceeds of loans with the requisite appropriation, and reconcile the loan servicing repayments with the attendant terms of facility based on the relevant context and the terms of the loans.
Over the last few days, our Treasury team has been assessing the adverse impact of either reducing the budget by 346 billion in full or borrowing the 346 billion in full. And cutting the entire amount in our assessment would significantly and drastically affect the delivery of critical government services.
The task force will also consider, perform or advise on any other matter or subject. Timothy Kipnusu for Easy Friday.
The government plans to borrow an additional 169 billion shillings to finance critical government services such as hiring of junior secondary school teachers and medical interns, fertilizer subsidy program, completing stalled road projects and additional funding for university education. The additional amount pushes up the total amount to borrowed over the next 12 months to 887 billion shillings. According to President William Ruto, the withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024 led to a reduction of revenue collection targets by 346 billion shillings. The two choices that were considered were either to reduce the budget by 346 billion shillings or borrow the entire amount. Either option had consequences.
The entire amount in our assessment would significantly and drastically affect the delivery of critical government services, while borrowing the whole amount in full will occasion a fiscal deficit by a margin that would have significant repercussions on many sectors, including our exchange rates and interest rates.
Based on this, the government has reduced the budget by 177 billion shillings. The government therefore plans to borrow an additional 169 billion shillings on top of the 718 billion shillings that was borrowed in the last fiscal year. This brings to 887 billion shillings the total amount to be borrowed to finance government projects until June 2025.
Whatever we are going to borrow, the difference will increase our fiscal deficit from what I intended to be 3.3% of our GDP. It will now go up to 4.6% of GDP.
The 169 billion shillings is expected to finance key government projects such as
hiring of junior secondary school teachers and medical interns, funding the milk stabilization program for our dairy farmers, reviving our stalled road projects that are in many parts of Kenya, retaining the fertilizer subsidy program that has helped us manage our cost of living, settling the debt owed to farmers in our coffee sector, capitalizing the coffee cherry fund to support our farmers in that sector, enabling public-owned sugar mills to pay outstanding debt to sugarcane farmers for their deliveries, additional funding for higher education, new funding model that was in our plan will now receive additional funding.
The amount will also finance the settling of arrears owed to counties, pensions and the National Government Constituencies Development Fund. Further still, President William Ruto has outlined areas that will be affected by the 177 billion shillings budget cut after he dropped the Finance Bill 2024. Officers to face major impact in the austerity measures include the Office of the First Lady, the spouses of Deputy President, and that of the Prime Cabinet Secretary, whose budget lines have been deleted.
Addressing the nation on Friday, the president outlined sections of the government to be affected by budget cut occasioned by his dropping of the Finance Bill 2024. The president saying after thorough analysis, his administration had decided to cut 177 billion shillings from the 346 billion shillings shortfall that was to be funded by the dropped Finance Bill.
We have since, after extensive consultations, struck a middle ground, and we will be proposing to the National Assembly a budget cut of not the entire 346, but a budget cut of 177 billion, and borrowing the difference.
In the budget cut, the president outlined the removal of budget lines in the offices of the First Lady, the spouse of the Deputy President, and the spouse of the Prime Cabinet Secretary.
Budget lines providing for the operations of the office of the First Lady, the spouse of the Deputy President, and the Prime Cabinet Secretary will be removed.
Also removed include budgetary provisions for confidential budgets in various executive offices, including the President's office. Similarly, the budget for renovations across the government has also been reduced by 50%.
The budget provisions for confidential budgets in various executive offices, including my own office, have been removed, and the budget for renovations across government reduced by 50%.
The head of state also suspended the purchase of new motor vehicles by the government for 12 months except for security agencies.
The purchase of new motor vehicles by the government is suspended for 12 months except for security agencies. All non-essential travel by state and public officers is hereby suspended.
During this period, a new policy on transport for public officers will be developed. The measures, the president says, will help in adapting to the new realities.
Now, in retrospect, it seems that we have also had another first. That is a current sitting president addressing members of the public on an online platform. Well, as they're saying and this trend is going, they will not believe it. Let's take a quick breather. We'll be right back.
Unajua, token mita yako inahitaji system update. Ni rahisi na ni free. Ukipata ujumbe kutoka Kenya Power, yani SMS, weka kodi ya kwanza kureset, alafu weke kodi ya pili kuupdate ili token mita yako iendelee kufanya kazi kama kawaida. Update token mita yako. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Kenya Power and Lighting Company.
It is about our skills, it is about our presence, it is about having an inclusive environment.
It's about recognizing the dignity. Each person has full dignity, irrespective of their situation, physical, educational, knowledge, whatever may be their condition.
Everyone has a unique contribution to make, and that together we should build a world where every ability is recognized and valued. Because we're differently.
Nye umro anakupenda.
Jabali ameenda kwa nini?
Thanks for offering me a place to stay, but I'm sorry I can't take your offer.
So?
How many times have I told you staki mwanamke hapa kwangu? She just came to check up on me and see if I'm okay. Telephone?
Mimi hata sina mahatiba na wewe yaki Mama Jane.
Hebu jiite mkutano. Ujichunguze. He's drinking, he's beating. You're jealous ilienda hivyo.
Mark is a changed man now.
I'd love to invite you to my traditional wedding.
I'm okay and I need to leave. Congratulations.
I hope Peter will make it too.
I'll make sure he attends.
Now, welcome back. I'm Regina Manyara, and this is Easy Friday. My colleague on sign language is Susan Thuku. The public sector is set to undergo a major shakeup, with the government announcing it will dissolve 47 state corporations with overlapping and duplicating functions, and the employees integrated into the mainstream government ministries. This is in line with its plan to cut back on operational costs in the wake of withdrawal of the Finance Bill 2024-2025 following widespread protests. Our reporter Tilio Marco has the details on the government's plan to cut back on its costs, coming at a time when the Ministry of Public Service has halted recruitment of new staff.
The public service is set to undergo a major reorganization following the announcement of plans to dissolve 47 state corporations. This was revealed on Friday in a move that would see employees in the affected corporations absorbed in their parent ministries.
47 state corporations with overlapping and duplicating functions will be dissolved, resulting in the elimination of their operational and maintenance costs, and their functions will be integrated into the respective line ministries. Staff currently employed by the affected corporations will be transferred to ministries and other state agencies within government.
Additionally, to reduce the human resource headache, the head of state announced those who had reached the mandatory retirement age would be required to exit public service.
Henceforth, public servants who attain the retirement age of 60 shall be required to immediately proceed on retirement with no extensions to their tenure of service whatsoever.
The announcement comes hot on the heels of a move by the Public Service Performance and Delivery Management to suspend new and ongoing recruitment in public service, including ongoing interviews for shortlisted candidates ahead of the formation of a tripartite committee to evaluate ongoing recruitment initiatives. Tilio Marco for Easy Friday.
We'll be keeping tabs on that, given that as you reduce, or rather the mergers happen, quite a lot of anxiety, especially in this public, when you find out exactly which 47 state corporations are going to be merged there. We'll be keeping tabs on that. Now, the era of state officers and public servants dishing out large sums of cash in Harambes has been dealt a blow in the wake of demands for government to crack the whip on officers displaying opulence that fuels plundering of public resources. President William Ruto, in a press briefing, directed the Attorney General Justin Muturi to prepare and submit legislation that will spell out a structured and transparent way for public servants to engage in charitable and philanthropic acts.
No state officer or public servant shall participate in public contributions or haramphase going forward.
The announcement by the president comes hot on the heels of complaints by protesters who accused senior government officials and public servants of exhibiting largesse in the public life, oblivious of the suffering of most Kenyans. Henceforth, state officers and public servants will no longer participate in public contributions or harambees, following a directive by the president. Despite the existence of a law barring election candidates from participating in fundraisers 8 months to the general elections, the Attorney General has been directed to come up with legislation that will extend to state and public officers. Contributions in harambees have been perceived to be used by politicians to further political patronage, while senior officials have been accused of looting from public coffers to respond to the demands by the public to participate in harambees. Kenyans who called out the largesse in government attributed patronage to some of the scenes seen on the streets last week, where it is alleged that politicians sponsored criminals to infiltrate the demonstrations, resulting in wanton destruction of property, looting and arson of business premises.
In place of peace, if you deploy violence, you displace the peace. And if you displace the peace, then those that are beholden to the peace will give way. And the dominant then becomes the violence. and the demands as at that time are replaced by the violence.
In the streets of Nairobi, images of hooded individuals bearing big batons claiming to be deployed by business owners keen on protecting their businesses were seen, while in Mombasa, goons descended on business premises, looting while destroying and burning vehicles. These images of looters leaving a supermarket in Rongai were also released by members of the public and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations. The scenes begging the question, were the chaos sponsored, and if so, who stood to benefit?
I do think that those that were upset, and I think the entire establishment, the cocktail of that entire establishment were threatened by Gen Zs. Even members of parliament were threatened, the executive was threatened, and the judiciary, because there was some friction with the judiciary at a point. So those part of the judiciary was probably threatened. That's why the language of the opposition was very obviously and overtly supportive.
This is one such image that has sparked controversy as it captures an elected county assembly member from Machakos County in the streets during the protests. A section of politicians have come out to accuse their political nemesis of sponsoring goons to sabotage the demonstrations.
We have observed that the intention of yesterday's well-organized, coordinated and state-sponsored chaos was to undermine and denigrate the Gen Z-inspired nationwide non-violent protest.
Itakuwa ni vibaya katika kaunti zote, wewe tu ndiye gavana unaingia mashinani na kuweza kuinua hamasa ya watoto na kuweza kuongea vibaya.
John Jacob Kuria, Easy Friday.
Rex Kanyike Masai, one of those who lost their lives during the Anti-Finance Bill 2024 demonstrations, has been laid to rest in his home in Machakos County. Rex has been eulogized as a selfless person with a passion for justice. His burial comes amidst renewed calls for justice for those who lost their lives at the height of the protests.
Friday at Kamudhanga Primary School in Machakos County. Family, friends, human rights activists and political leaders are gathered to bid farewell to 29-year-old Rex Kanyike Masai. His coffin is draped in the Kenyan flag. Rex met his death 2 weeks ago during the Anti-Finance Bill 2024 demonstrations.
Taxi drivers around like for a lift, even the police and even the protesters. So they were like, those people are afraid even to give us like a help. Of which nakumbuka Rex, woman yanalala hapa, was a very brave boy because anakumbuka hata nikimwambia Rex by this mfanye hivi.
All those who talk to the podium, eulogizing him as a man whose legacy will never be forgotten.
The void left by your absence is vast. Yet amid the sorrow, I find solace in the immeasurable pride I feel to call you my brother.
So painful to lose a firstborn child for no reason. Hakuwa mgonjwa, just a phone call away. Rex is normal.
Go well. May the Almighty God receive your humble soul. You are irreplaceable.
Justice for Rex. Calls for justice for Rex took center stage.
Ndugu zetu wa IPOA, mulikuwa pale wakati tunafanyia Rex upasuaji. Tunataka kabla wiki ijayo huyo askari yakuwa amefikishwa kotini kujibu mashtaka.
And I want to tell the MCAs who are here, tuende tupange, tupitishe mswada, tuite barabara moja katika county government ya Machakos. Rex Masai.
The death of Rex Kanyike Masai will not go down in vain. He has contributed to change the way this country is governed forever.
As Rex Masai is laid to rest, his family and friends are saying that they will only find peace once the person who killed him is brought to book. Nancy Pare reporting for Easy Friday from Kamudhanga Primary School in Machakos County.
May his soul rest in peace. President William Ruto has pledged the government's support for families of 41 people who died during the anti-taxation bill protests. While offering his sympathy to the affected, the president also wished quick recovery to 361 injured victims, terming the deaths and injuries as unfortunate. Meanwhile, 25 human rights groups in the country are demanding the prosecution of police commanders over the handling of the protests.
The government has finally acknowledged the demise of dozens of Kenyans at the height of anti-taxation protests. The president has publicly offered his sympathy to the families of the 41 people who lost their lives.
To the mothers, fathers, siblings, relatives, and friends of those who lost their lives, my deepest sympathies and condolences to you all.
I want my grandson.
In his televised address to the nation Friday, President Ruto acknowledged the pain and agony that many Kenyans have endured in the past 2 weeks and promised that the government will support all those injured.
To the many others who are injured and recuperating, I wish them quick recovery. The government of Kenya will support all those who've lost their lives and those who've been injured.
The president's message came moments after a consortium of 25 human rights groups on Friday urged the government to publicly apologize and compensate families of the deceased.
We further call on the government, with His Excellency President William Ruto, taking leadership to 1. Acknowledge the violations suffered by victims during the protests and initiate measures to provide effective remedies to address the physical and psychological harms they have suffered.
Speaking in Nairobi, representatives of the groups have called for the prosecution of police commanders for allegedly failing to avert deaths linked to their juniors.
Security officers in command positions should be held individually liable if they knew or ought to have known that their subordinates were involved in or planned to use unlawful force.
They asked Interior Cabinet Secretary and the National Police Service to address claims of abductions and intimidation and release all people arrested for participating in the protests. They've also asked the Independent Policing and Oversight Authority to fast-track investigations of officers accused of police brutality.
Cease all abductions, enforced and involuntary disappearances. 2. Cease surveillance, threat and intimidation of human rights defenders and civil society actors.
To fast-track investigations and initiate prosecutions against individuals who are liable for the unlawful use of excessive force and lethal weapons.
Joseph Ohungu reporting for Easy Friday.
Across borders, Sir Keir Starmer is now UK's Prime Minister after his Labour Party swept to power in a landslide victory in the country's election. As John Cairo reports, the Prime Minister in his first speech promised to initiate a government of service and restore public trust in the political arena.
Thank you so much for that reception.
The victory of Keir Starmer as the UK Prime Minister has seen the Conservative Party suffer a dramatic collapse after 14 years in power. In his victory speech as Prime Minister, Sir Keir has reiterated his commitment to run what he termed as a government of service and initiated a period of national renewal.
My government will fight every day until you believe again. From now on, you have a government unburdened by doctrine, guided only by the determination to serve your interests.
On his part, Rishi Sunak, the outgoing Prime Minister who conceded the defeat, took the chance to apologize to fellow defeated colleagues, saying he would step down as party leader after formal arrangement for selecting his successor will be set.
I have heard your anger, your disappointment, and I take responsibility for this loss. To all the Conservative candidates and campaigners who worked tirelessly but without success, I am sorry that we could not deliver what your efforts deserved.
Rishi Sunak has already vacated 10 Downing Street to pave way for Sir Keir to move in. The result marks a stunning reversal of fortunes for the party. In 2019, led by veteran left-wing politician Jeremy Corbyn, Labour suffered its worst electoral defeat in almost a century. Prime Minister Starmer, who has formally replaced Rishi Sunak after an audience with the King of Buckingham Palace, has initiated the process of appointing his new cabinet before it meets for the first time on Saturday. John Kahiro, Easy Friday.
Siwezi kula kitu, nachoka, natamani sana niende hosi. Sasa niko na uchungu, siwezi ka straight, nasienda tu nikilala. Manguo yangu nyepesi nawekanga kwa tumbo, kwa sababu inatoanga maji, na kuna pale ya vidonda inatoa damu. Sasa Wakenya wenzangu pale mnaniona, unisaidie tu. Sasa ndio sina ya kuenda kwa daktari.
Ubaya wangu, upweke wangu na dhambi zangu.
Story that we did about a pastor who was arrested 7 years because of something that he didn't do, and the follow-up is on the wife.
Kuangalia hivi nikashindwa, huyu ni bwanangu ama si bwanangu? Juu nguo zimejaa damu. Amegongwa hapa, magistrate kuingia akamsomea the charges, akamuuliza kama amekubali the charges. Ile kitu ilinishtua, alisema amekubali the charges. Niko na magistrate amemwangalia hivi akashangaa, ameanza sasa kusoma the ruling. Sasa unfortunately vile alisoma the ruling akasema ya kwamba amepatikana na hatia na amesentensiwa to suffer death by hanging.
If you're joining us, this is Easy Friday. Now, the impact of youth activism has been felt across the country as Kenyans laud the impactful activism strategies employed by the young generation. Through hashtags, viral videos, and online campaigns, they have garnered national and international attention, forcing conversations about crucial issues that affect their generation and the future of Kenya.
In a sweeping wave of activism, Kenya's youth have emerged as a formidable force demanding recognition and action from the country's political leaders. With a demographic comprising over 60% of the population under the age of 25, their voices resonated not just as a chorus, but as a pivotal force shaping the nation's future.
This is a larger population. This group has got a very valid, genuine concern. They have laid down their grievances and it is well understood, well communicated, so you cannot ignore that.
Armed with technology, driven by values of justice and equality, and empowered by their interconnectedness, the young Kenyans are unstoppable.
They have invented a mobilization skill, that kind of mobilization. There is no politician who can ignore that mobilization. So if you ignore at your own peril.
These guys have come with a new strategy whereby we have removed that cocoon of tribal lines, whereby we are divided so that we can be ruled in a cake manner.
Kenyans on Twitter, Kwani Shingapi tweeted, by tuning into Rise on X Space, young people can actively participate in shaping national policies and decisions, reinforcing the importance of youth involvement in governance. Hashtag engage the president. Amazing Kisi tweeted, imagine a real-time exchange of ideas with the president. This Twitter space is more than just a conversation. It's a dialogue where your thoughts can lead to real change. Through their activism, Kenyans say their voices are heard and their actions brought meaningful results.
Baada ya our agencies kuleta rabsha, tumeona president amesimamisha financial bill, ameitisha kikao na mawaziri.
Ingawa hata tatua yote, lakini kuna mambo mengine ambaye ni peupe, ni bayana kabisa, yanafaa yaangaliwe na yatatuliwe.
Paulina Simiu for Easy Friday.
Now, question is, come 2027, can the youth be ignored or will they be part of the change? That's a question that is running through several people's minds tonight, looking at the overall impact that the youth have had in the last 3 weeks. You can join the conversation. Get us on our official X handle at KBC Channel 1. To health, the government is committed to fully equipping detention and prison settings with sound health facilities and provision of non-discriminatory health care services to inmates. Principal Secretary, State Department for Correctional Services, Salome Biako, noted that a holistic health care approach is paramount for the inmates as it will contribute to the successful reintegration upon completion of their sentences.
First African Conference on Health in Detention has been held in Nairobi that saw delegates drawn from various African countries attending. The conference was necessitated by the high number of mortality recorded each year, majorly associated to health complications on the inmates.
One, we have the challenge of overcrowding, which I found is across board. And we have the challenge of funding. And out of these challenges, now this is what exacerbates the problem that we have of diseases in our correctional services.
Principal Secretary, State Department for Correctional Services, Salome Biko, who officially closed the 3 days conference, noted that the ministry is actively supporting efforts aimed at promoting an integrated approach to healthcare within the prisons to tackle pervasive health issues.
The department is mandated to provide safe custody and rehabilitation for both convicted and unconvicted prisoners. This broad mandate cannot be realized without provision of quality health care for those in our custody.
So strengthening health systems, including in detention, and leveraging the digital transformation to get there requires shared solution and collective action.
This while noting that mental health plays a crucial role before and after incarceration, hence ought to be prioritized.
Incidentally, for the State Department for Correctional Services in Kenya, this year's theme is mental health and wellness for effective service delivery.
There is a connection between the body and the mind. So the physical health cannot be looked at in isolation without due regard to the mental health.
Some of the key recommendations include upholding and strengthening the rule of law, including Nelson Mandela Rule, which states that prisoners ought to be treated with dignity. The recommendations further called for more efficient and ethical practices for health providers working in prison settings, prioritizing mental health for inmates, and equality and non-discrimination in healthcare provision within detention. Opicho Chemtai for Easy Friday.
The government now says it is targeting to increase power connectivity in rural areas by 3% from 75% to about 78% if the budget for the Rural Electrification and Renewable Energy Corporation, REREC, is increased to 14.5 billion shillings. Speaking while launching a new power connection in Mugira Village, Maragua constituency of Murang'a County, Energy Principal Secretary Alex Washira said the increase in REREC's budget will see an additional 690,000 homes in rural settings get connected to power. The PS further warned those vandalizing power transformers, saying it has been costing the country over 2 billion shillings.
Not here in Marago constituency, but across the entire country, because the electrification program is covering the entire country. Remember, this financial year alone, we had we have a total budget of about 42 billion shillings.
Wenye wako area hii wengine wataweka vinyozi, wengine kama wako kwa dairy farming, sasa mtu atanunua machini na itakuwa inamsaidia ndio aweke ng'ombe mingi, kwa sababu hiyo machini itamsaidia kukata majani ya ng'ombe.
Ng'ombe tuko na machini hazina mafuta ya kutumia, tunatumia petroli, lakini siku hizi tutatumia moto ya stima.
Sola kama sasa hivi unaona hakuna jua linawaka, sola nayo inakosa nguvu, kwa hivyo watu wengi wanakosa mwangaza. Na kwa hivyo kwa sasa tunashukuru ya kwamba tutakuwa na mwangaza kila wakati.
More from the counties where police in Teso South have launched an investigation into an incident where a 13-year-old boy was found murdered in a house in the area. Elsewhere in Meru County, residents of Rwanyange village held a peaceful demonstration after a grade 7 pupil died under mysterious circumstances in the Rwanyange primary school. Here are details from the county's news roundup.
According to the parent, the 13-year-old student of Okame Teso South Primary School suspected murdered by wild animals. Police have launched an investigation into the incident to determine the cause of the murder.
Kwa shambani nikapigiwa simu mtoto amepatikana kwa ile nyumba. Ni jambo ambaye sio jambo zuri, lakini imeshatokea. Tutaomba kwenye kijiji na kila mtu aweze kutulia. Tungoje polisi wakuje wafanye kazi yao, wafanye uchunguzi tuweze kujua kifo mtoto litokea namna gani.
Elsewhere in Meru County, residents from Rwanyange village held a peaceful demonstration after a grade 7 pupil died under mysterious circumstances in Rwanyange Primary School. The residents accused the school management of carelessness.
Ile sina tuko nayo hapa Rwanyange ni kwa hii tanki mnaona hapa. Hii tanki ilikuwa imetengenezwa ya kuweka maji lita milioni 2 na ilikuwa na mahali watu wanachotea maji pale chini. Sama hii kambloko yote wakati bloko mwalimu bandara ashughulike kupungua hiyo maji, anaambia watoto waingie ndani ya hiyo tanki kusota maji.
And a section of bishops from the Western region are appealing to the president to listen to the plight of Kenyans over matters affecting them.
If we obey the law of our land on retirement, this would greatly help our country to distribute jobs equitably. And that's what we said. We are going to lead by having an understanding heart and godliness.
And finally, church leaders and elders drawn from Kericho and Bomet counties have lauded President William Ruto for accepting to address some of the demands made by youths during the protest.
Kitu ambaye inajia sasa, with the framework that has been set, let us continue to listen and to dialogue with all sectors of in the country, and we will arrive at a way forward.
The Pokot community came together to celebrate their annual Center Festival at the Muena Shrine in Pokot Central. Hundreds of community members journeyed through rivers, hills and valleys to partake in this significant cultural event. Tonight on My Culture, we focus on this festival that makes the transition from the planting season and serves as a testament to Pokot's rich heritage and enduring traditions.
This entire festival, held every June, is a spectacle of vibrant traditions and deep-rooted ancestral customs. The week-long festivities are a blend of prayers, rituals and communal gatherings, reflecting the community's gratitude for productive farms and fertile lands.
In entire West Pokot, wote wanakuja hapa siku ya leo. Hii kitu inaanzanga Jumanne. Tunawasha hiyo moto Jumanne, tunawacha inalala Jumatano. Alhamisi tunaimba kidogo. Jumaa kuna ancestors wanakuja wimba yao. Hakuna mtu atapita siku hiyo hapa. Ancestors wenyewe wanaimba siku yao. Ukikuja hapa, hiyo ni bahati mbaya kwako. So ancestors wakimaliza yao Jumaa, yetu inaanza siku ya leo sasa Jumamosi.
The climax of the festival is marked by a fire lit with traditional songs, praying and praising ancestors for better days ahead.
Ni kama wakati wanasomanga budget, sisi tunafanya budget yetu hapa. Kuna moshi tunawashanga pale, inaashiria dalili ya mvua. Kufunga kwa ukulima. Wakati watu wamelima kila mahali, wimbi, mahindi. Sasa leo ni siku ya mwisho. Tunakuja hapa tunaomba Mungu atusaidie mvua. Inyeshe, itupatie mazao mazuri ile shamba tulilima, tufune ikifika hapo mwezi wa 8.
Ni ya maombi. Wazee zamani walikuwa wanafanya maombi pamoja na wamama. Wakishafanya maombi pia wanaimba kumsifu Mungu na kusifu pia ancestors wao vile wamewaweka mwaka nenda miaka rudi.
The festival is meticulously planned with a series of prayers and events spanning the week. Elder men begin with 3 songs moving around the gathering, followed by a 4th song that invites the entire community to join in. Together, they sing 8 songs, creating a powerful communal experience. After the songs, water is ceremoniously poured around the fire, and the pot carrying the water is broken into pieces, a symbolic act signifying the forgiveness of sins and cleansing of those present.
Wanachotea bale wakati wase wakimaliza hiyo kusunguka yao hiyo yote, hiyo maji inaashiria kwamba mahali umekanyaka, kama wewe ni mtu mbaya, dhambi zako zote zimeishia wapi? Zimeishia pale. So ni kama kutupia mahali pale. Kama kuna mtu ametoka mbali na amekanyaga mahali mbaya mbaya, kila kitu sasa hiyo maji inaosha.
Special leaves from selected tree branches are then placed on the fire, and the community eagerly watches the direction of the smoke.
Wakati tunaimbanga hapa, kuna mahali tuna face side hiyo, na tunachukua matawi ile mbichi tunaweka kwa hiyo moshi. Hatuwezi weka ile imekauka, tunaweka ile mbichi hivyo. Tunaweka ndani vile tulepea kafana yake, akaweka hiyo moshi ikienda juu na ilale the other side, iende mahali machi inatoka. Hiyo inaashiria sile mimea mmelima mwaka huu sitakuwa mzuri, na inaashiria kwamba magonjwa yote haitakuweko.
At the Moina Shrine, the Pokot community cheered as the smoke rose high, signaling blessings for the community, promising enough rain, bumper harvest, and healthy livestock. West Pokot Governor Simon Kachapin, who also participated in the event alongside several leaders, emphasized the importance of preserving a positive culture that highlights the Pokot's identity as both pastoralists and hardworking farmers.
Wahenga wanasema mwacha mila si mtumwa. Kwa hivyo sisi tumekuja hapa kama viongozi wa West Pokot kuendeleza hiyo mila ambaye tunaona hii ni mila safi. Tunajua kuna mila ambazo zimepitwa na wakati na kuna mila ambaye tunaweza kupreserve ama kuweka. Hii ni moja yao.
Dressed in traditional Pokot attire, men and women gathered at the event, embodying their rich cultural heritage. Helen Samuel, a resident, reminisces about how these rituals, practiced since her childhood, have kept the community at peace and provided predictions on weather patterns. The Sintai Festival stands as a vivid manifestation of the Pokot people's commitment to preserving their ancestral customs amidst a changing world. Through traditional dances, music and rituals, they reaffirm their identity and strengthen community bonds, providing resilience in tough times like drought and hunger. The festival, among other ceremonies, stands as a cherished legacy passed down through generations. No children are allowed during the Sintai Festival, giving the elders the freedom to dance and perform rituals that have kept the Pokot community united and thriving for centuries. This vibrant celebration is a testament to their enduring spirit and rich cultural heritage. Jackie Wambiru, My Culture.
Asanteni sana kwa kuwezesha Loto Moto kuwafikia wengi wasiojiweza kupitia *570#. Hapo umewafuta wengi machozi, umewaelimisha, umewapa makao, umewapa lishe na umewapa matibabu kwa namna tofauti.
Asanteni.
Asanteni. Asanteni sana.
Na kwako wewe mchezaji wa Loto Moto, unajipa fursa ya kujishindia Probox nayo. Na kama Probox haikufai na umejishindia, tunakupa taslim 750,000 Kenyan shillings na mshindi na mtangaza 30th of June. Na mwezi wa July 28th na mtangaza mshindi wa Demio nayo. Na kama utaki na umeshinda, wacha gari, chukua chapa 750,000 Kenyan shillings kwenye *570#. Wewe si mshindi tu, wewe ni tegemeo kubwa. Tusaidie na tushinde!
We speak business, where Kenya Airways and the International Organization for Migration have signed a deal aimed at curbing human trafficking and illegal immigrants. The national carrier is expected to use its fledgling global network and the recently developed human trafficking policy to report cases of human trafficking. KK Chief Executive Alan Kilavuka has said the deal will help implement measures that will identify, prevent and combat trafficking of persons.
In Africa, Kenya is a major source, transit, and destination country for immigrants. According to the International Organization for Migration, the country registers over 1 million international migrants and over 500,000 registered asylum seekers and refugees. To curb the influx of illegal immigrants and human trafficking, Kenya Airways and the International Organization for Migration have signed a new seal that will see the national carrier curb and report cases of human trafficking and illegal immigrants.
We also play a role in terms of advocacy, awareness, and standard setting when it comes to that chain of the migration officer, the airports authorities, the police, and so on and so forth.
According to IOM, cases of internal trafficking occurs within Kenya mainly for purposes of domestic labor and sexual exploitation, while international or cross-border trafficking occurs for purposes of forced labor, domestic servitude, and sexual exploitation. This has created avenues for traffickers to exploit vulnerable youth looking to pursue employment in far-flung areas, especially in the Middle East. The MOU between Kenya Airways and IOM seeks to strengthen the capacities of international airports to detect victims of human trafficking and intercept high-risk passengers and illicit commodities.
We have roles to play there. So we transport. They have policy regulations on how people should move safely, people should migrate safely, and the MOU just underlies our commitment to that.
When you look at the youth surge, not only in Kenya but in the entire Africa, and then you look at the jobs available in the destination countries. This partnership will ensure that we facilitate safe, regular, and dignified migration. And in a way, we are contributing to the regular pathways of IOM as our priority.
Additionally, the initiative will also put in place incentive mechanisms to ensure that the migration is safe and works for all, with the national carrier setting the standards in the aviation industry.
Yes, we're the first airline, but we're quite happy to be the standard and to help our other colleagues in other airlines to understand, first of all, the importance, so we play an advocacy role, and then to train and support from expertise that we have gained over the period of time that we've been doing this.
Ndutamo Kami for Easy Friday.
Government has earmarked 10 billion shillings in its quest to transform Thika into an industrial smart city in the next 5 years. The funds will go towards modernizing the town's infrastructure, including roads, water, energy, and non-motorized transport. Kiambu County Governor Kimani Wamatangi says future projects include a proposed airstrip and an urban rail system, as well as tech hubs, among others.
Plans to upgrade Thika into a modern industrial city have been on the card for long now, with the government working with various stakeholders to achieve this dream. Thika is one of the most industrialized towns in Kenya, with industries like motor vehicle assembly, food processing, among others. Urban planners say the town's climate, urban planning, agricultural productivity, and industrial presence make it well positioned to become a city in the Mount Kenya region.
In terms of opportunity for business and growth and market, we are not looking. We have the natural advantage as Thika. And that is why, by the way, all the other industries that were here blossomed.
Kiambu County Governor Kimani Wamatangi says development projects in water, health, infrastructure, education and trade are in place to ensure the town achieves the city status.
Because we want to create a proper environment within the town, whereby the former business trader who has a shop can feel comfortable in his shop. They know that they pay a license so they can trade.
Key projects to be implemented in partnership with the national government include a 5.7 billion shillings water reticulation project to boost capacity by Thika Water and Sewerage Company, 500 million shillings for walkways and non-motorized transport, among others.
From that water is now just proper reticulation of water. And that we are prepared to do. We have set aside funds to ensure that that reticulation happens.
Future projects include a proposed airstrip, a 2 billion shillings rail system, ICT and tech hubs, and the modernization of hospitals and ECDE centers.
In what way or how can we make this idea or Thika smart city be beneficiary to them? In what ways can they benefit?
So God willing, at the pace which we are moving with this very able technical team, we may have a city. In fact, by next year, by mid of next year, God willing.
Ian Muse, Easy Friday.
The expectation of any tourist on a safari excursion is to spot the big five, comprising either the lion, elephant, leopard, buffalo, and rhino. Hoteliers have adopted various innovations, including offering night game drives or underground tunnels to ensure their guests sample Kenya's majestic wildlife. Well, I took a trip, or rather I went down a tunnel in Taita Hills, and I documented the next piece.
Holidaying remains a popular attraction for those visiting Kenya, accounting for nearly half of the country's visitors. The thrill on safaris in Kenya's vast parks is the allure of sporting the big five. As such, hotels are offering night safari drives and installing underground tunnels for maximum viewing of wildlife. In the heart of the private Taita Hills Sanctuary, bordering Savo West National Park, Salt Lake Safari Lodge has its rooms elevated on stilts, each overlooking a waterhole and linked by suspended walkways. The establishment has an underground tunnel to the watering hole. This means tourists can be up close with wild animals, especially elephants, when they troop to the watering hole. Going down the tunnel is a surreal experience and daunting if one is claustrophobic. However, the experience is worthwhile. Night game drives offer an opportunity to view wild animals that are not easily encountered during daytime, such as a spotted and striped hyena, mongoose, jackal, civet, genet, porcupine, and bush baby.
We have the big four here in our sanctuary, which is a big boost for us because these days the beach people have recently started coming to the parks as opposed to the beach. So the parks are really selling for us. And our sanctuary fee is quite affordable for us, so it's very accessible for us.
Regina Manyara reporting for KBC Channel 1.
Very good evening to you. My name is Daniel Wahome. It is time for Prime Edition Sport, rather Easy Friday Sport. Now, President William Ruto has reiterated the government's commitment to strengthen the reward system for Kenyan sportsmen and women who represent the country in international championships. The president was speaking at State House, Nairobi, while handing over the national flag and unveiling of the Team Kenya ceremonial kits.
President William Ruto handed the national flag to Team Kenya ahead of the 33rd Olympic Games, which begin in 20 days in Paris. The president challenged the 70-member Team Kenya to supersede performances reached in previous editions of the Games, saying that they will be rewarded for their efforts.
We will continue this work with you until you come back with a harvest of medals and experiences from Paris, when we shall monetize this with handsome rewards. And I want to promise you that I have given very clear and firm instructions to the ministry to make sure that the reward system represents the excellence that we have in our sportsmen and women, and also the allowances must keep in pace with the excellence that we see in our sportsmen, men and women.
The president applauded 4 designers whose designs were chosen as Team Kenya ceremonial, official and closing ceremony kits, which will be worn by Team Kenya during the Paris Olympics.
I'm particularly proud of the exercise we went into when I asked Ababu Namwamba that it is not fair for us to buy kits from all manner of places when we have Kenyan talent that can craft and curate a outfit that is truly Kenyan, designed by Kenyans, produced by Kenyans, and tailored by Kenyans. I am very proud that we are doing this time around.
Sports Cabinet Secretary Ababu Namwamba challenged the athletes to represent the country with utmost honor, reiterating the government's commitment in aiding their preparations for the Games.
Invested in this team appropriately. We have invested in qualification, and we have taken all federations to all qualification opportunities around the world. We have invested in training, both here at home, at Kasarani, in Eldoret for high altitude training. We have invested in a special training camp in Mehamas, in the south of France, in the Marseille region, which has been available for a whole year for Team Kenya to train.
Kenya is set to feature in 6 disciplines at the 2024 Olympics, which include athletics, rugby, volleyball, judo, and fencing.
We have 32 women and 38 men. For the first time, we have almost 50-50 in representation in these games.
The qualified athletes, our journey to the Olympic Games is a testament of the hard work we've been putting in for the last 4 years. behind the closed doors.
We won't promise so many things, but just to let you know, we will go there, out there, do our best, give it all, like really all.
The Olympic Games are scheduled July 26th to August 11th, after which the Paralympic Games will take place in the same city, kicking off on August 28th through to September 8th, where Kenya will be represented by a total of 9 athletes. Bernard Okumu, Easy Friday Sports.
That the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya is determined to deliver a clean team to the forthcoming 2024 Olympic Games. According to the EDAC head of Anti-Doping Education and Research, Dr. Martin Sisa, the agency has already done mandatory testing to all the teams headed to the 2024 Summer Games in Paris. Dr. Sisa also revealed that testing started in September last year through to the stipulated World Athletics deadline on the 4th of July. More than 4,135 athletes have been tested by EDAC and reached out to 8,500 stakeholders in athletics alone. Dr. Sisa also clarified that athletics has had more testing done than other disciplines, given the fact that it has been categorized as a high-risk sport.
The role of journalists is particularly very critical in this venture. By shining a light of doping practice and advocating for clean sport, they help to protect the integrity of Kenyan athletics and inspire future generations of athletics.
African javelin record holder Julius Yego has stated that he will do all he can to make a podium finish in this year's Paris Olympic Games. The Olympic Games will be held from the 26th of July to the 11th of August in Paris, France.
Speaking after today's training, Yego stated that the qualification to the Olympics has been a tough challenge for him and now believes that it acted as an added motivation to do well this year.
It's going to be my fourth time appearance at the Olympics, and I'm really excited. And, Olympics is the highest level of competition in the world, and everybody else would want to be in an Olympic championship. And to me, I'm so excited. I thank my God that I finally made it. I had some challenges, but I overcame them, and yeah.
He also called on Kenyans to continue supporting them for their motivation part to Team Kenya at large.
I had silver in 2016, and yes, I know, and I haven't been doing well for the past few years, but I'm healthy now. I'm back, and I'm looking forward to a good show in Paris.
Yego's performance in the Olympics has been messed up with injuries, with his best record being in the 2016 Rio Games, where he won silver with a throw of 88.24 meters, despite only throwing once after picking up